everybody, welcome back to the kitchen. We are going to make some awesome yeast rolls today. I think this recipe makes about 6 or 7 dozen supposedly, and we're gonna probably freeze most of them. We're gonna get started. This particular recipe we're doing for the yeast rolls is a copycat recipe of I believe it was Texas Roadhouse, which is, I don't even know if there's one up here in Alaska, but we did have them back in North Carolina. Although our favorite steak restaurant was Logan's. And man, thinking about those today, that nice yeast roll and a good salad with some Thousand Island dressing. Oh boy, and a nice ribeye steak with a loaded baked potato. Good times. We haven't had that in a very long time, so that's okay. We're gonna make our version of it here, and I hope that you enjoy them as much as we have. First thing that we're gonna do is take a half a cup of water and warm it up, and you definitely don't want your water to be warmer than maybe 109 degrees or so. If it goes any hotter than that, you will kill your yeast and you will not be able to have your rolls rise. Amy tried to make some bread the other day and had that issue.
That is exactly right.
He stuck his finger in the water to measure the temperature and did not pan out very well. So just make sure that you take an actual red temperature of your water so you don't kill your yeast. So anyway, we're going to get that going, and then we're also going to scald 2 cups of milk and let that cool a little bit before we add it in, because also we don't want that to be too hot as well. We're going to get 3 tablespoons of butter melted to go in this recipe as well. Alright, so I've just got this glass Pyrex dish, and in it I put 1 teaspoon of sugar and 4 teaspoons of active yeast. And now I'm going to add my half a cup of warm water and let that dissolve, and just let it kind of get frothy looking for about 10 minutes. So it'll take about 10 minutes to do that. And if it's, if it does not get frothy, then you know that your yeast is not active, is dead. It is a living organism and it will make your bread rise. So if you don't see that happen, you know that you need to throw out that yeast and get some new yeast. So let's get that in here and we'll move on to our next step. The water still looks pretty hot. Pretty hot. Alright, so there's our half a cup of water. But we've learned our lesson. Can you keep an eye on this milk and don't... We're scalding the milk right now, and I'm just making sure that we don't burn it. There you go. And in the meantime, I'm going to take temperature on this water.
Is there a temperature for scalding?
No. Okay, so right now we're at 120 on this water. So obviously I overdid it. We're going to have to wait a while for that to cool so we don't kill our yeast. Since time is of the essence and I'm a little impatient when it comes to things cooling off, and we do live in Alaska, we're going to take advantage of the nice cold weather that we're having outside. It's only about, 10, 12, something like that. So I set that water outside to let it cool. Shouldn't take long now. So we got our water cooled off. Going to mix it in with the yeast and start letting it get frothy. I'm going to give it a good stir after I've added the warm water. Leaving it outside for just literally under a minute. Took it from 119 degrees to 106, so definitely cold outside. Alright, so our yeast is nice and frothy now. Nice and frothy. So we're going to take that and dump it into our mixer along with half a cup of sugar, and then we're going to put our scalded milk in. And then we're going to add in just enough flour to make like what you would or what you would consider a pancake consistency. And then we'll add in a lot more flour, but we're going to get that started first. This recipe takes about 7 to 8 cups of flour, so quite a bit for this one. All right, we can get our mixer going, get this mixed up a little bit. Add in one more, and I've just got a dough hook on here. And then I'll mix it up just fine. Alright, I've got that to where I'm satisfied with it. And now Andy's giving me my 2 eggs. And also we're going to add in 2 teaspoons of salt. No shells, no shells. Excuse me. Alright, in goes our salt. And we're going to add in our butter, which was just 3 tablespoons of melted butter. And then I'm going to give that a nice little mix. We're going to begin to add in more flour cup by cup, or even half cup by half cup, whichever way you want to do it, so you feel that you've got the right consistency for the yeast roll. And this is all-purpose flour that I'm using for this recipe.
We buy the 25-pound bag and we keep it in a bucket.
We keep it in a food grade
Yeah.
bucket to cut down cost of purchasing
Kind of with the seal around here.
flour all
If
the
you
time.
can see the seal. That has a seal on it. That's a food grade HDPE. And you can see that on the bottom of the bucket. They push down and the tabs lock in. It locks on there really, really good. It stays good for a long, long time.
Okay, so I've added about 6 cups of flour now, and it's formed into a large ball of dough. And just letting the KitchenAid do most of the work for me. Now this recipe does require that you knead the dough afterwards until it's silky and a very elastic, pliable, soft dough. So, and I can tell that this needs more flour because it's sticking to the bowl, so we're going to add a little bit more.
This KitchenAid only pulls 325 watts max. And we are using it on a small Honda generator right now. We could power it with the solar system, but we don't have a lot of capabilities with recouping that at nighttime, so we don't generally deplete the batteries.
Yeah, during the winter time we don't gain much sun, solar.
Today
The other day we got
was
what,
good.
like 50 watts pulling in, which was pretty good for the winter time. And it just, despite what you may think, the sun does rise during the winter time here, and a lot of the times it's a lot more clear than it has been in the summertime. So
We have overnight power needs
oh Lord.
for lights and things that have to run 24/7. So we have a couple of devices that we need to supply power to overnight when we shut down the generator, so we don't deplete the batteries below a certain level, so that we can use that residual overnight for our overnight needs.
Okay, this dough is pulled mostly away from the sides of the KitchenAid. It's stuck a little bit on the bottom. That's okay. It's definitely a very soft dough at this point. It's a little tacky, a little bit sticky. I don't want to continue to put too much flour, but I'm going to put just a little bit more, and then I'm going to take it out and start kneading it. Sounds like a screaming Mimi firework. You gonna stand there and tell me you ain't got no screaming Mimis? I'm gonna add quite a bit of flour to my counter here because one, we don't want it to stick to the counter, and two, if there is any error in what I did as far as the amount of flour that I added, hopefully that will assist. And ladies, my suggestion to you would be to take your rings off, because they're going to get stuff all in them when you're kneading this bread. Ooh, sticky.
What strong hands you have.
You definitely have to put some elbow grease. Definitely have to put some elbow grease into it. And I can feel that it's getting less sticky and like more tacky, which is pretty good. I have to do it for quite some time, several minutes. You just kind of throw it around and push it into itself and over on itself, and you can see that it's smoother, you know, when you pile it up into a ball. It's smooth. It's pretty smooth, right? But the ultimate test is when you can take and pinch a piece of dough like that and it doesn't rip. If it rips, you're not done kneading. It's called the window test. So I've been kneading this for probably about, I don't know, 5 minutes or so. I'm gonna try this window test again. Okay, well, it ripped, but that's pretty good. That's pretty close. See, it's almost see-through right there and didn't fully rip. So I could probably keep going a little bit if truth be told, but I'm no Paul Hollywood, that's for sure. If you know anything about bread making, Paul Hollywood is the man. The man hates a soggy bottom bread. Alright, so that's pretty good. That's pretty stretched out. It's not transparent, but I can almost see my finger through there, right here. And it didn't quite rip until I just did that. So I'm going to say it's not bad for my application. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to let this dough rest for just a minute while I clean up. And you can see I didn't use all the flour here. I put quite a bit here on the counter, but I just kept pulling in a little bit as needed. And you know, you just have to judge it based on what you feel. So like I said, I'm gonna let this rest for a minute. Might need it another minute. And then we're gonna put it in the oven for the first proof, and then we'll take it out and shape it into our rolls. Alright guys, got it out of the oven for our first proof. It's definitely doubled. It's very thick and heavy. This bowl is pretty heavy actually, so I guess it turned out to be a lot more dough than I thought. So I'm going to get this rolled out, and we're going to cut it into our roll shapes that we are looking for here. I'm going to go with more like a square rectangle-ish, and then we'll let it prove for the second time, and then we can freeze them. And so I got it rolled out a little bit, and then I just took it and folded it in half because I want the rolls to be nice and thick. And then I'll take this pizza cutter and just kind of cut it in strips because I do want them to be more of a rectangular roll than a round roll like normal. Anyway, so when you actually are gonna cook the dough, and let this rise one more time, and you see it's got this fold in it. So then when you actually cut your yeast roll in half and open it up, it should open up when it's cooked for a nice way to put you a big old slab of butter in there. Okay guys, there they are. We got 46 total, and so definitely not quite the 5 to 6 dozen that it says. I mean, I guess I could have made them a bit smaller and probably got that out of it, but we do want some bigger rolls, so that's all right. And it'll last for not too long around here. All right, so now we're going to put them in the oven again for our second proof, let them double in size, and then we can freeze them, and we're all done till we're ready to cook them. After the second proof on the rolls, you would set your oven to 350, and you're going to bake those for about 12 to 15 minutes until they're golden brown. And then you can dress them up with butter, or you can make the honey butter or cinnamon butter, I think is what it was that the restaurants had that everybody craved or raved about. So it's up to you, however you want to dress them up, some garlic butter, whatever, and enjoy. Alright guys, so those are some of our favorite rolls. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.